Like many things in life, we make lists of things, wants, desires, requests, things that we hope to get accomplished, and then we measure the success of our day based on how many of those things we get accomplished. But there always seems to be a few items that get relegated to the next day, the next list, or even worse, someday, one day. Exercise is one of those things that ebbs and flows for a lot of people, but for me, it's meditation. I can't seem to make it as requisite and ritualistic as that morning cup of coffee. Equally as vital to get your day going, probably even more so. And yet, I've been thinking a lot about those things that never ever make a list. And they're things that we've been able to engage in a way we've never quite had the time for before, perhaps. A random act of kindness, for example. A new skill learned, or at least studied. One friend or a family member thanked, forgiven, blessed. One act of self-love, self-worth. Join me as I look at these things and we awaken to tomorrow's journey. I had been home from my travels from Nepal for almost a year now, and my pre-trip workout and ritual of climbing my stairs, all 24 flights of them, to ready myself for the trip and climbing a mountain had pretty much weaned its way out of my schedule. I stopped doing it. And even that form of meditation that I'd been practicing on the trek throughout, just to get myself up the next hill, to take my next breath, to convince myself I could and would carry on, even that was gone. It seemed vanquished to the burden of time or some such. And though I was consciously working on me, I had to, consequences proved almost fatal, to be quite honest, meditation hadn't worked its way back into my life on a regular basis. And then suddenly, another journey opened itself up to me, only this time it was in my own backyard. My co-producer and dear friend Alibe had been invited to a musical presentation by someone we had both met at the United Nations, the Venerable Yuang. She's a Buddhist monk with the Buddhist Light International Association, connected to the largest Buddhist organization in Taiwan. The show was to take place at the Theater of Hunter College, my old alma mater. I thought it would be fun to return to the place I had studied film and theater. Since I live not far, I got there well before Alibe. I was greeted by a lot of fanfare from the Venerable and all of her colleagues, and was extended such good graces I was beginning to think it had to be because of Alibe, certainly not on my behest. Eventually I was brought to my seat in several rows with other VIPs, most of them representing other religions. Good evening, Father. Salam alaikum. Bless you, my brother. Shalom, Rabbi. And behind me, an entire row of Buddhist monks, all in their robes. I was beginning to wonder what Alibe had gotten me into, and she still wasn't here. Well, they started with a few speeches, honorary guests, mentioning one of the things was that this was being presented on November 11th, 11/11, a very symbolic number in the Buddhist faith. And at that point, the lights went down, the curtains started to go up, and in slipped Alibe into her seat. The musical told the life and times of Siddhartha, which I had come to know all about from my travels in Nepal the year before. The performance featured students of the Cebu Performing Arts Institute of the Guangming College, located in Manila, the Philippines. The students were talented and exquisite looking, and between much of the audience and the cast, I was in my normal and joyful comfort zone, the minority. And as such, I could give over completely to the new experience. I also enjoyed watching the show play out in Alibe's eyes. She doesn't hail from New York originally, and certainly doesn't have the theater-rich pedigree that was my childhood. So instead, she just accepted the show as it was. After the show, Alibe was too elated to just go straight home, so we stopped for some dinner. A burger. We weren't quite Buddhist yet, I suppose, at J.G. Mellon's. It was good. We talked more about Buddhism and everything that we had seen that night. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to go further in this exploration, and she was leaning on me to help her do it. It also, at the same time, served to light a new fire for me, a new catalyst, if you would. All that night we talked about Buddhism, we talked about Taoism, we talked about Hinduism, we talked about Catholicism, Mormonism, Lutheranism, you name it. But something was lit that night, brighter than the stars as we walked into the night. She not only wanted to learn more, she wanted to enjoy the presence of his legacy, Buddha's legacy, in her house, similar to the one she had seen at mine. I saw this as my chance to return the favor of inviting me to the show. Plus, I thought it would be fun to have another excursion with this vibrant energy in my life. So I set the course for our shopping for Buddha. I told her, after all, one doesn't go onto Amazon and order a Buddha. Jeff Bezos should have nothing to do with it. What, you're going to get a ring at the doorbell?
Ding dong. Amazon Buddha delivery?
With a hint of the holidays in the air, we headed downtown to my childhood neighborhood of Chelsea. You can watch the episode on growing up in Chelsea by clicking on the link above. A free-thinking neighborhood, to be sure, long known by immigrants, vagrants, transplants, and tourists alike, and certainly an area known for embracing, well, an alternative lifestyle. And as such, it was a neighborhood that had not that long ago been devastated by the last pandemic, though we weren't calling it that. And in all of that, there was comfort, reason, memories. Though we were here for Alibe's journey, something deep inside me was reconnecting. I was rediscovering self. The first stop I had planned, the Tibet House, presenting and preserving Tibetan culture at their West 15th Street location since 1987. A smallish gallery that offers a relaxing and informative way to spend a wintry afternoon. And their small gift shop offers some lovely, albeit pricey items, including a small sampling of Buddhas. She was enamored with many of them, but more as a work of art. Not right. We moved on. I next took her to what used to be the East-West Bookstore, now called Namaste Bookstore, located on West 14th Street, just off Union Square. It's long been the go-to place for New Yorkers looking for anything alternative. You know, alternative health, alternative thought, alternative hookups. I have the same crystal at home, only it's set in a beautiful Gandalf statue. I had one more stop planned, one more trick up my sleeve, the Rubin Museum of Tibetan Art, that aims to stimulate learning and reflection while promoting understanding of the ideas, cultures, and the art of the Himalayan regions. It's located in the old Barney's department store, a mecca for forward-thinking fashion back then, and now a home to the fashion of the forward-thinking. Their galleries were open late that night, the admission was free, and they had recently started these hip DJ jam evenings, kind of like their own Buddha bar. We were still in the Namaste bookstore, but I reminded Alibe we were meeting a friend of mine, a young curator in the arts named Benny, who happened to be Asian American, so I told her he might even have some Buddha advice to give her. But we had to get going pretty soon, lest we be late to meet Benny. But at this point, when I looked at Alibe, she was walking around the store holding, at this point, a particular Buddha. No, not holding, cradling. As this was all so wonderfully new to her, she was drinking it all in and still holding tight to Buddha. I suggested a bit of a test to her. I recommended that we put the Buddha on hold, go to the Rubin Museum, explore what they had to offer, and then make a decision at that point. Well, the radiant clerk behind the counter agreed, not only to hold Buddha there, but also she reassured Alibe that she was making and taking the right resolve. Alibe let go of Buddha, but only in the physical sense. Well, we met our new friend. We visited the galleries offering a huge selection of Buddhas from Tibet, Nepal, China, around the world, really. And then we even got to leave a blessing on the wall, which was in keeping for New Year's and also very much in keeping with the museum's policy of encouraging inward reflection. And then it was time for a different vibe. We sat down in their hip cafe. It was loud, it was fun, and the menu offerings were just as creative as well. Definitely more Chelsea than Buddha's temple. But I could see that Alibe was still reflecting on Buddha, her Buddha, the one that she held while walking through the store. Oh, I let it stew inside of her a little bit longer, and near to the point of the bookstore's closing time, I asked her if she had found the one that could guide her and center her, her house, her family, her life. With a smile, she dashed back to the store as I suspected she would. She returned even more elated than before, kind of the way she was the night that we had witnessed that show together at Hunter. Well, our conversations about Buddha continued well into that night and well into the new year. But in that, even my own reconnection to Buddha deepened. By helping a friend in her quest, which is always easier to do anything than address your own issues, I was creating a path that reconnected me to, well, my old neighborhood, my roots, my past, even confirming knowledge I forgot I had, almost as if from a previous life. The lessons were all here, ever apparent, and not in some faraway exotic land, 21 hours flight away. No, right in my backyard, or more importantly, right here, in me. I'm Jeff Oppenheim. I thank you for joining us. I hope you'll like, share, comment, and especially subscribe. And click on through to the next episode in Buddha's journey.